Welcome to Pure HFY Stories. My name is Stefan, and I'll be your narrator today. First of all, I ask everyone whether you have subscribed to my channel? If not, then don't worry. Please subscribe to my channel and let's move on to today's story. Let's go. Brad knew two things the moment his escape pod slammed into a vine-choked alien jungle. 1. His pilot certification was definitely getting revoked. And 2. Something out there was watching him breathe like a pervert at a yoga class. He staggered out, smoke trailing from the dented pod, swatting oversized insects and muttering, "Perfect. Sent to map mineral deposits. Land balls first in a jungle full of weird sex pollen and bird screams that sound like orgasms." He didn't have time to ponder it long. The ground thudded. Not shook, thudded, like something heavy and barefoot was charging toward him. Then came the war cries, high-pitched, feminine, and way too excited. "Small man!" one of them shrieked. Brad turned and instantly regretted everything. Towering above him, at least 9 feet tall, were 5 warrior women. Bronze skin glistening with sweat and tribal paint, thick thighs like tree trunks, breasts that made physics apologize, and eyes that gleamed like someone just found their favorite chew toy. He raised his hands. "Ladies, I realize I'm trespassing. Maybe we talk." They pounced. 30 seconds later, he was trussed up in vines, dangling upside down between 2 pairs of huge swinging tits, as the warriors jogged back toward their village laughing and arguing in some musical language that made even threats sound flirty. "Does he lick?" one asked. "He looks like he does. I call first taste." He tried to protest, but one of them stuffed his mouth with a banana that somehow tasted like cinnamon and shame. They carried him through the jungle, pointing at his crotch and laughing. One slapped it. "Soft, like baby fawn." The village was a surreal jungle fantasy meets orgy bazaar hybrid. Huts made of vines and woven breasts, or maybe those were actual decorations, incense that smelled like warm thighs, and statues everywhere. Goddesses receiving oral in every style known to man, and a few new ones. The warriors dumped him before an altar. From the shadows emerged a woman with silver tattoos and hips so wide they had their own gravitational pull. She was older, milfy, regal, eyes like she'd broken kingdoms with orgasms. She looked him over, tongue flicking her lips. "Tiny male," she purred. "You come in fire. Do you also come in tum?" He blinked. I'm Brad. From Earth. I crashed. Do you have Wi-Fi? Or pants?" The older woman clapped once. A horn blared. Drums started. The crowd roared. A tall priestess stepped forward, topless like the rest, with a sash made of something that looked suspiciously like past lovers' shredded underpants. She held up a scroll. "In name of Goddess Velura, Tonguebringer, Moist Maker, we invoke the trial of tongues." Brad tried to stand but was held down by 4 grinning giants. "What's the, criteria?" he asked. The priestess leaned down, breasts hanging like twin threats. "You lick the chosen. If she moans before you tire, you live. And if I don't?" She smiled. "Jungle worms eat from both ends." "Very thorough." Brad chuckled nervously. "You know back on Earth, foreplay's optional." "No," she said, tilting his chin up. "Here, it is survival." From behind the altar, the chosen arrived, 2 Amazons, identical twins, with gold-painted vulvas and amused smirks. One cracked her knuckles. The other cracked her neck. Both looked at him like a pre-meal snack. "Let the sacred oral begin," the priestess bellowed. Brad was untied, stripped, oiled, and presented with what could only be described as a ceremonial peach platter with live commentary. He whispered to himself, "No pressure. Just my life depending on cunnilingus. Great. I trained for this. Pornhub Premium, don't fail me now." The twins lay back on soft moss, legs spread, eyes challenging. Brad approached the first with all the reverence of a man praying not to die by vagina-related neglect. He started slowly, gently, letting his tongue explore. She gasped. The crowd leaned forward. He switched techniques. Alphabet. Circles. Tease and flick. she moaned. The second twin's toes curled just watching. The priestess took notes. He honors clitora. Technique is strange, but wet? 10 minutes in, both twins were clutching vines and screaming his name. The sky darkened. Then it rained. No one questioned it. Impossible, someone whispered. He made sky juice. A beaten man in a cage nearby wept. I trained for years. I failed after 30 seconds. They fed me to the worms. He's a freak. Brad fell back, gasping, covered in sweat and pussy glow. The twins lay limp, grinning like sinners blessed by God. The queen rose. She was taller than the others, built like war and sin, hair braided in golden ropes. You, she said, voice like thunder through silk. You have passed the trial. You shall be our sacred liquor. Brad wheezed. Do I get dental coverage? She ignored him. Your tongue is blessed. Your face, small enough to fit anywhere. You will be worshipped and used. Frequently. From the side, another figure emerged, a new Amazon, younger, cockier, abs like marble and eyes like knives. She sneered at Brad. That little creature? She said. My mother gives the throne to a man with a strong tongue but weak limbs? Brad sat up. I can hear you, you know. She stepped closer, looking him over with barely concealed disgust and curiosity. You're nothing. A joke. A snack. I will taste you and spit you out. Brad, barely able to sit, looked up and smirked. Buy me dinner first, Stretch. She glared, cheeks flushing. The queen chuckled. Daughter, you may challenge him. Later. Tonight he belongs to the temple. The priestess grabbed Brad by the hair and dragged him toward a tent where steam rose like lust. He didn't resist. Just groaned. Can I at least get a straw? My tongue's gonna need therapy. As he vanished into the sacred tent, the women chanted in unison. Lick! 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 Brad knelt on a cushion that smelled like lavender and thighs, blinking as tribal women smeared his face with golden body butter. He was already raw from the trial, tongue sore, jaw clicking like an old hinge. The queen watched from her throne of vibrating obsidian, legs crossed, nipples jeweled, sipping something thick and green that probably counted as an aphrodisiac/laxative. The priestess approached holding a carved tongue-shaped totem. Tonight you perform again. Twice. For the record keepers. Brad tilted his head. I'm starting to think this isn't a test. It's a tongue-based religion with bonus cardio. The queen stood towering. The gods demand consistency. You brought rain. The jungle rejoices. But we must be sure it wasn't luck. Because nothing says luck like cunnilingus during a thunderstorm. He muttered. The twins from earlier waved lazily from a pile of leaves. Still glowing. Still twitching. This time, two new women stepped forward. One was covered in ritual tattoos, eyes smoky with lust and malice. The other looked nervous, younger, shy, maybe a virgin offering. Brad winced. They were both still massive. Same rules? He asked. The priestess handed him a scroll. Yes. But now we introduce distractions. Sacred difficulty level. Brad squinted. What kind of distractions? A drumbeat started. Incense filled the air. The queen's wife stepped into view, the MILFAest of MILFs, all hips and deadly smirks. She held a bowl of glowing nectar. Drink, she said. It enhances endurance. Side effects include prolonged erections and mild hallucinations. Brad gulped it down. Why am I hard if it's oral only? Respect, she said, walking off. The trial began. The tattooed woman lay back like a seasoned general expecting victory. The shy one giggled and covered her eyes. Brad adjusted his posture like a monk preparing for war. Tongue out. Deep breath. He started. A moan. Then another. The priestess counted out loud. Moans per minute, increasing. Sacred suckling, confirmed. Gentle swirling, advanced technique. Suddenly, drums changed rhythm. Women began to chant. Someone threw petals on him. Another licked his ear. What the hell? Brad gasped. Distraction phase, the priestess yelled. One warrior mounted his back. Another sat on his foot. The MILF whispered, You missed a spot, lower. Despite everything, Brad persisted. The shy girl exploded first, screaming something in native tongue that translated to, Great Peach Mother. The tattooed one came moments later, eyes rolling back. The priestess wept with joy. He brings balance. He licks like destiny. The crowd cheered. A warrior fainted. 2 offered marriage proposals. 1 tried to hump a totem. Brad collapsed face first into moss, panting. Someone write my eulogy. He gasped. Make it rhyme. Mention my bravery. And my jaw strength. The queen descended the altar. She crouched beside him, scent like crushed berries and war. You are no longer just sacred liquor. You are now consort candidate. I'm sorry, is that a promotion or another sex job? Both, she said, placing a crown made of clitoral piercings on his head. You now sleep in the royal hut. The crowd howled. The priestess passed out from excitement. The tattooed woman twitched. The shy girl whispered, I want to name my first orgasm after you. Brad was led to the queen's chamber, draped in silk, dragged by 2 Amazons who couldn't stop sniffing him. One giggled. He smells like divine sweat. The queen's wife waited inside, legs crossed, wine in hand. I requested private time, she said to the guards. They left. Brad rubbed his face. Look, if this is about sacred duty again, I'm out of lube and mental clarity. She stood, hips rolling like danger. No ritual. Just curiosity. Oh great. Lust-based diplomacy. She circled him. You pleasure too well. I find it suspicious. No man pleases like that. Not without training. Brad Saturday. Maybe Earth just raises us right. Some of us read the full manual, you know? She leaned close, voice dark. You know the queen is mine. You impress her too much, and I may be forced to make you disappear. Look, I didn't ask to be King Lick-a-Lot. I just wanted to not be worm food. She pinned him against the wall, grinding just slightly. Then don't enjoy it too much. I enjoyed breathing too. Should I stop that? She pulled back, grinning. You're brave for a soft little man. I'm just numb, he said. Horny and numb. Like a sexy war veteran. She laughed, genuine and dangerous. Then kissed his cheek and left. That night, Brad lay between silk sheets, staring at the woven ceiling, jaw aching, tongue tingling, mind fried. He wasn't even sure if he was winning or slowly being consumed by a beautiful matriarchal sex cult with a rain fetish. Someone knocked. The queen's daughter entered. She wasn't smiling. You licked my mother, she said flatly. I was legally obligated. You licked the twins. The temple girls. The virgins. The warriors. The damned high priestess. I'm very tired. She sat on the edge of the bed, crossing muscled thighs. You have not licked me. I don't recall signing up for the royal buffet plan. She smirked. You will. Tomorrow. I'm adding you to the games. I'm sorry. There are games now? A test of oral dominance. You versus me. The arena. The crowd. You'll be judged by screams. He blinked. I'm not even the dominant one in my own dreams. You will satisfy me, she said. Or you will be forgotten. Brad stared at the ceiling again after she left. Somewhere outside, a jungle worm howled. He whispered, I should have stayed on Earth, where foreplay's optional and women don't wrestle you for the right to sit on your face. From somewhere in the temple, a chant rose again. Lick! 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 He sighed. God help me. I think I missed the worm. Brad woke up with a leg on his face and a nipple in his ear. Again. This was his new normal, sleeping between bodies that could crush him and still call it cuddling. He rolled out from under a pile of Amazons, tongue dry, libido shot, and dignity long dead. He limped to the water basin, splashed his face, and stared at his reflection. You used to be a systems analyst, man. Now you're a full-time pussy priest. The tent flap opened. The Queen's heir, Calrexa, walked in wearing armor made entirely of polished bones and attitude. Ready for the games? She asked, cracking her neck. No, Brad said, reaching for a leaf to wipe drool off his neck. But when has that mattered? You may die, she said with a shrug. Or climax into unconsciousness. Either is acceptable. Can I just spectate and offer Yelp reviews? She grinned, teeth sharp. No. But if you fail, we get to use you for target practice. With dildos the size of spears. Brad stared. You people really know how to incentivize oral excellence. Calrexa stepped close, her scent spiced and dangerous. You're too smug for someone who moans in his sleep. I don't moan. I whimper tactically. She dragged a finger down his chest. Tonight we battle. You keep saying that like this is Mortal Kombat, but everyone's naked. Exactly. The games were held in the sacred arena, a circle of vines, moss, and groaning anticipation. Hundreds of Amazons gathered, oiling themselves, placing bets, offering flowers or thigh straps to the sacred liquor. Brad stood at the center wearing nothing but ceremonial face paint and pure panic. Calrexa appeared opposite him, bare and flexing, her tongue piercing, catching the torchlight. The Queen watched from her throne, expression unreadable. Her wife smirked beside her, legs crossed just tightly enough to make Brad think twice about blinking. The priestess raised her staff. Begin the Moan duel! Calrexa launched forward, tackling Brad, who found himself beneath an ass that deserved a monument. She turned and planted her thighs around his face, smirking. Satisfy me. Or suffocate. Honestly, that's the kind of threat I wish more dates ended with. Brad got to work. Despite exhaustion, he summoned everything. The swirl. The tongue press. The sacred flick. Calrexa arched, eyes wide. The crowd gasped. Someone fainted. A drumbeat kicked in. He was doing it. But Calrexa wasn't going down easy. She spun, flipped, pinned him, and began riding his face like it owed her back taxes. Moans echoed. Birds flew off the trees. The vines quivered. A woman in the crowd shouted, "He licks like thunder!" Brad nearly passed out. Then Calrexa screamed his name. Loud. Wet. Apocalyptic. The priestess declared, "Victory, sacred liquor!" Brad rolled over, tongue twitching. I'd like to retire now. Maybe become a gardener. Or a monk. Calrexa sat beside him, flushed and panting. You are insufferable. You say that, but you came hard enough to summon wind. She punched his arm. You belong to this tribe now. I belonged to a mortgage and an underwhelming sex life last month. That night, the Queen summoned him privately. You have defeated my daughter. You made her moan. You made me proud. And annoyed. Brad sipped the nectar she offered. I'm not trying to collect your whole family like Pokemon. But you are. Accidentally. And now I must decide what to do with you. Let me nap? She approached, wrapping her arms around him. Or make you king? Brad blinked. Excuse me? You have brought unity. Orgasms. Rain. And an average-sized penis with above-average diplomacy. I'm not sure that last part's a compliment. It is, she said, guiding his hand between her legs. You may taste my approval. Brad hesitated. Wait, you're married? And your daughter literally tried to fuck me unconscious 12 minutes ago. She'll get over it. And my wife enjoys watching. I'm starting to think your entire culture runs on tongue and jealousy. She pulled him down between her thighs. It runs on loyalty and technique. Later, as Brad lay recovering beside a queen, a milf voyeur, and an heir still pouting on the roof, he whispered to himself. I have no idea how I'm still alive. The milf leaned in. You moaned her name during the climax. That's why she's angry. I was blacking out. My brain was rebooting. Doesn't matter. Now she wants a rematch. Brad groaned. I need a safe word. We tried giving you one. You moaned it during the rainstorm. God damn it. The next morning, a tribal council convened. The queen declared Brad an honorary consort, warrior of the tongue, and sacred middle of all thighs. He was gifted a necklace of vibrating stones, a spear he wasn't allowed to use, and 3 personal guards who kept staring at his mouth like it held divine prophecy. One of them whispered, Do you do tongue tricks? Brad blinked. I used to tie cherry stems, but now I tie up political systems with orgasms, apparently. Calrexa refused to speak to him. But she started doing push-ups near him. Naked. The queen's wife pulled him aside. You have a choice, you know. What, between being worshipped to death or eaten by worms? Between staying here forever or asking to leave? Brad thought. And thought. You'd let me go? No. But you could ask. He laughed. You know. I came here by accident. And now I'm a sex icon to a tribe of clit-worshipping giants. And I've never felt more useful. She kissed his forehead. Good boy. He looked around. Naked Amazons oiling each other. Women practicing scissor holds on dummies. Drums pounding. Rain falling again. He whispered, God, I hope Earth never finds this place. Someone shouted from behind. Trial incoming. We found a new girl curious about his swirl technique. Brad stood, tongue ready, face numb, cock semi-interested. He marched toward destiny. Brad sat in the royal bathhouse, legs shaking, sipping broth from a leaf and wondering if he'd ever get feeling back in his jaw. A week ago, he was crash-landing into a death jungle. Now he was debating whether he needed a support group for oral fatigue. The queen's wife lounged across from him, watching him like a satisfied cat. You're popular today. I've been popular every day, Brad muttered. At this point, my tongue has a cult. She dipped a toe into the steaming water. 3 new challengers. A married set of twins. And a high priestess from the northern tribe who's curious if your mouth speaks prophecy. Brad leaned back, letting the hot water boil his regrets. I used to dream of being the most desired man in the room. Now I just dream of Advil and dental insurance. She raised a brow. You could refuse. Yeah? Last guy who said no ended up worm bait with his ass chewed off. She shrugged. Fair point. Trumpets blared. Drums thudded. The tent flap flew open and Calrexa stormed in, fury in every flex of her biceps. I challenge the sacred liquor to the final claim, she growled. Brad didn't even open his eyes. Oh good. More claiming. Let me guess. If I win, you forgive me. If I lose, I get turned into a sex chair. Calrexa scowled. If you win, you become king. If you lose, you are banished. No more licking. No more thighs. Brad blinked. You people take oral far too seriously. She pointed at him. Sunset. The arena. The ritual of roaring flesh. No faking. No mercy. Brad stood, towel falling. Fine. But I'm bringing a bottle of water and a safe word this time. The ritual of roaring flesh was attended by every tribe from across Volterra. Hundreds of giant women gathered, eyes hungry, lips glossy, thighs gleaming. The queen sat in judgment, flanked by her wife and 2 twins already lounging like they were on round 3. Calrexa stood across the arena, naked, oiled, confident, and full of vengeance. The priestess raised her arms. Let the sacred battle of tongues begin. They lunged. No foreplay. No mercy. Brad dove face first like a champion. He went slow, then fast, then slow again. He pulsed his tongue like a metronome of the gods. Calrexa growled, grabbed his head, rode him like a beast in heat. Moans echoed across the jungle. Birds took flight. Trees trembled. At one point, Brad saw a vision of his 5th-grade math teacher giving him a thumbs up. Calrexa screamed. Once. Then again. Her thighs locked. The priestess burst into tears. The prophecy is fulfilled. Brad fell back, dazed, tongue limp, eyes bloodshot. Did I win? The Queen rose. He has made the unmoanable moan. Calrexa, my daughter, has met her match. Calrexa crawled toward him, collapsed beside him, and whispered, I still hate you. Good, Brad mumbled. Hate keeps it spicy. The Queen stepped forward, crown in hand. You shall be king consort. Lick lord. Mouth of the matriarchy. The wet whisperer. Brad tried to sit up but failed. Do I get a throne? Or just a permanent kneeling pillow? The priestess placed the crown of piercings on his head. You will have both. And endless thighs. Suddenly, a sharp buzzing noise echoed through the arena. A holographic projection burst into life above the altar. Hello, Brad, the voice boomed. It was Earth Communications Command. Brad froze. Oh no. The hologram displayed his face. His trial. His moans. His licks. Edited. Dubbed. Commentated. With stats. You have gone viral, the voice said. Across 48 human colonies. Your fanbase is enormous. You've been nicknamed Tongue Daddy 69. The crowd gasped. The Queen blinked. Calrexa smirked. Due to cultural impact, Earth would like to offer you a contract. Come back. Be the face of our new pleasure diplomacy program. Teach your techniques. Inspire peace through oral finesse. Brad stared at the projection. You mean I'm Earth's top sex diplomat? You're a living god to the incel colonies. We're prepared to offer housing, credit, and a tongue insurance policy. Brad looked around. His Amazon harem. His throne. His fans. His aching everything. Then he looked at Calrexa, who mouthed, If you leave, I will kill you. Slowly. He turned to the projection. Tell Earth I'm unavailable. I've got unfinished business. The crowd roared. The Queen kissed him. Her wife licked his ear. Calrexa slapped his ass. Earth's voice crackled. Are you sure? You could be rich. Brad raised his hand, middle finger extended. I already am. The projection fizzled. The Queen stood beside him, arm around his shoulder. You chose us. I didn't, he said. My tongue did. The priestess blew her horn. Let there be feasting. And licking. Brad was lifted onto shoulders, carried through the jungle, thrown into the ceremonial orgy pit like a prized fruit. Later, as the sun set, Brad lay beneath 3 warriors, 1 queen, 2 twins, and a MILF feeding him berries from between her thighs. He exhaled. So this is happiness. Calrexa leaned over, whispering in his ear. Tomorrow, we try anal. Brad groaned. Can I at least eat first? She smirked. You just did. Final moan. Fade to black. And somewhere, in a forgotten corner of space, a jungle worm wept quietly. Alone. And hungry. Because the sacred liquor had chosen pleasure over fear. And his tongue would never be the same again.